Yeah. This is the Chris and Mike Show. I'm Chris, he's Mike. Welcome.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome to our world. What is this, episode 50?
This is going to be the bonus episode.
This is a bonus episode, boys and girls, so you don't know what number this is going to be. It could be 50, it could be 60, it could be 743. You never know.
So the next time one of us is unavailable, you will not be without an episode, so that's how we roll. You'll find out what episode number it is right along with us, right when I put the number next to it.
Exactly. Exactly.
And as with the last one, I'll probably have to go back and search for it because I had to explain to a couple people that the bonus episode was recorded in February, so...
Yeah.
You know, they would be like, you know, you were talking about... I'm like, I don't know, that was 8 months ago. You have to refresh my memory.
Oh, so that wasn't relevant back then. That's funny.
I think there was some relevant things because I'm trying to remember what people brought up about the bonus episode, but I looked back and it was recorded on like February 13th or 14th or something like that.
Crazy.
So this one will be the same thing. There'll be some things that will be relevant to only right now probably, but that's just how we roll.
Well, we could, use our powers of time travel and talk about what's going on right now in the world today, and then people will just think we're talking about today, even though it was yesterday, because tomorrow is just an illusion tackling today's quest for tomorrow's dreams. So there's that.
That is a Chris Dunham line if I ever heard one. Ever.
Right. So, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Just be very vague. Be very vague, Mike.
This is very vague, and you will appreciate this because I know you like random facts from history, right?
I do.
So I subscribe to this Ancient Knowledge Facebook page, which is pretty cool if you want to follow it.
What's it called? Ancient Knowledge?
Ancient Knowledge.
Ancient Knowledge. Okay.
So this says a 1640 CE, so is that after Christ, before Christ? I don't know what CE means.
CE? I'm pretty like BC's before Christ.
What's CE? Is that the new AD?
Maybe. I don't know. Fucking weird people.
Anyway, a 1640 CE condom made from pig intestines discovered in Lund, Sweden is the world's oldest. It came with a user manual advising dipping in unboiled milk before use for disease prevention during intercourse with prostitutes.
Okay. And this is Ancient Facts? This is the page you're on?
Yes. Ancient Knowledge.
Ancient. Okay. I found something that said Ancient Facts. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool too. So Ancient Knowledge.
It says it's reusable, soaked in unboiled milk for 6 to 8 hours before reuse. So they actually boiled it for about 8 hours, and then they could reuse this pig intestine.
Huh. Okay. And
But it came with a manual to advise men to wear it when they were having sex with prostitutes. So my point is there's some humor behind it.
Right.
But if you dig deep into why they did that, they were aware that they were getting sexually transmitted diseases as early as 1640, right?
Right.
Why would they advise them to wear it while they were having sex with prostitutes other than guys were, their fucking dicks were falling off?
Right. Well, yeah, that would be a weird journey to take. I went on the Facebook and I found that page that you sponsored, that you referenced. So back on October 10th, somebody had posted a video about the hurricane and some of the shit that's that went on in Florida that day. That shit was insane. I recall one of our, maybe 2 or 3 of our previous episodes how we discussed chemtrails and how they affect the weather systems in America, and you completely agreed to that. And I have the tape, I can roll back and I can prove to everybody that you agreed to that, so you can't deny that. But Hurricane Milton was a once-in-a-century storm with a wind speed of 12. Like, I don't know what the 12 meant, but the video of that, was just insane. It's like, looking back on that, holy shit, that was a crazy storm. Just a crazy, crazy storm. But that's a cool little page, man, that you got, that you just introduced me to. It's pretty cool. They used the Egyptian archaeologists discovered an ancient stone for unlocking supernatural abilities. That's cool. There's a thing on there that kind of looks like Mick Jagger, but it's not. Ooh, little civilization. It's a trip, man, going back down and looking at that stuff. Like the stuff that they were able to accomplish back then without the tools that we have today. Like there's estimated to be 10,000 years old. The Kailash Temple, Ellora Caves, India, has been carved out of a single rock, top down. Top down. So they started up here and carved down through the rock. And if you see these pictures, that's
with hammers and chisels, they'll have you believe.
Fucking amazing. Like the patience and time. Like I showed this. I did this.
Or did they know something that we don't know now? I just think there's a big chunk of history missing.
That's true. Yeah.
With the world flooding.
Yeah.
We don't know how many times. We know at least once because every major religion has a flood story, and it goes even further back than that.
Yeah.
And then the burning of the library in Alexandria, we lost all that knowledge that supposedly contained, the knowledge of Atlantis and this advanced civilization. Maybe they understood things about harmonics. When you talk to a musician and he says that he's in the zone or he's pulling it out of the atmosphere or the universe or he sees it in colors or pictures in his mind.
Right.
Really what he's telling you is he's an empath and he feels it.
Right.
There's no other way to explain it to a normal human being than to. I just feel it, right? Mm-hmm. When the groove's right and I'm sitting in the pocket, I know exactly where all the changes are instinctively. Doesn't mean that they're right on time all the time. It means that it ebbs and flows. That's why they call it the swing. It's not perfectly in time. Van Halen, AC/DC, Metallica. The reason that those drummers either get criticized for being not good drummers or too simplistic is because if you're going to create a pocket or a place for time and space to exist all at the same time, everybody has to play their part, right? So it ebbs and flows. Life does the same thing. I just don't think that we realize it. I think there was a civilization that lived that their technology just was not the same as ours. It was based on some kind of sound and harmonic
resonation.
Yes. Thank you. That's the word I was trying to pull out of the atmosphere.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. There has to be, because how do you number one,
how do you move those massive stones?
Right. And number two, how do you look
millions
at a mountain?
of them?
And how do you look at a mountain standing on top of it, so you're looking down at your feet and think, "Oh, I'm going to carve top down." And in doing so, I'm going to create like what looked like National Monument in Washington, right? What's the one with all the pillars out front?
Isn't that the Lincoln Memorial?
Lincoln, okay, yeah. So it looked like that without Lincoln sitting on it, on the side of a mountain.
That's crazy.
So that kind of goes back to people's thoughts that aliens existed way back then, and that was alien technology and shit. Because legit, you're standing on top of a mountain and you look down like, huh.
Which is also a possibility. We don't know.
Right. I'm gonna carve this out of this stone, and like back in October, I did this thing. I went to a $4.5 million house. Title guy Jason has this really cool thing he does every month. He picks a really elite home, and you go to it, and you can do these video things like I did dad jokes. I did a tour of the home, and then I did this scripted funny bit with him. But the house itself took 3 years to build. It was built in 1980, but it was designed to look like postmodern 1950s. Okay, so everything inside the home was wood. Like everything, the ceilings, the walls, wood paneling, everything, right? Carved and etched into a mountain in north central Phoenix. He had to fly in by helicopter the landscaping. The original owner, he just passed away last year, so he lived there since 1980.
That's awesome.
It's insane. What is to me, there's too much wood to it. I would like to have drywall and shit, but I was the minority in that when we were there doing the thing.
I'd have to see it. I might agree with you.
Yeah,
depends on how it looks.
Yeah, I'll see if it's still listed. I'll find it because I don't remember the address, but we'll see what I come up with. But it's pretty legit, man. It's pretty badass.
I like my new floors, but I'm not. I like the texture, or not I like the drywall, or actually mine's paneling, but it's painted.
Yeah,
I guess it's not. Mine's not even drywall; it's paneling. But you'd never know it, and I guess unless you looked at the lines.
Well, and this is classy paneling. This is like legit. It's real wood. It's not the stuff you got from the 1970s store. Because really, the guy that designed it was Arthur Frolick.
That's what my mom and dad have in their house. It's
Okay.
real oak paneling.
Yeah.
It's not the stick-on, nailed-on shit. Theirs
Yeah.
is like you'll burn up your drill bits drilling through their
Yeah.
paneling. It's
Okay.
real stuff.
Yeah.
Very
So,
nice.
But it's stained glass and fucking views everywhere and just
Wow.
a really cool house. But yeah, 3 years it took him to build it.
So this guy's literally been living life on the side of the mountain for the last 40 years.
He just died last year.
That's
So from 1980 to 2023, he lived on this side
What
of
a
the mountain.
run.
Yeah, and he built it himself. Like, and to have that built now would cost easily $20 million. And it
20
probably-
million?
Yeah, it probably cost him $1 million to build it back then.
No shit.
Yeah, maybe two. Who knows? Would cost a living and shit, but
If you could even get the permit to build on the side of the mountain now, right?
oh, there's fucking people. Yeah, people still build inside the mountains. It's fucking ridiculous. I just go. To me, I'm that guy that like, fuck it. Let's just shorten the gap between Phoenix Metro and Tucson. Let's fucking build in the deserts. Fuck, leave the mountains alone. Just leave the mountains alone.
You just actually drove. You flew. Did you fly into Chicago?
I've flown in Chicago before. Yeah.
So when I was growing up, from Joliet to Bolingbrook, which is the southernmost suburb, there was nothing. You know,
Okay.
it was just still cornfields and
Yeah.
empty lots and whatever. Now Joliet, which is probably a good almost hour to the city,
Yeah.
it's built up from there.
Oh no
That's
shit.
how big Chicago is now. It goes from the lake all the way down to Joliet, which is closer to me than Chicago is by a landslide.
Yeah.
So we just keep packing people into the same amount of space. You know, you just
Well, then that's what I'm saying. Just let's expand the space. Let's shorten the space, the distance between the Phoenix metro area and Tucson. I mean, we have Phoenix. Maricopa, the city, wasn't here when you were here, but now there's a city called Maricopa that if you get
that
off
was
on,
just starting.
okay, so you
Right,
get,
right when
yeah.
I was leaving.
Okay, so you get off on Riggs Road and turn left down AZ 847, and then there's Maricopa. It's a nice, thriving little city now. They did a really good job on it. You know, it's you got everything you need. If you live in Maricopa, you could literally like live and work in Maricopa. You wouldn't have to leave the city at all. There's only one way in and out, which is a drag. So if there's an accident, you're fucked. But there's no reason why they can't. And then you have Casa Grande, and then you have Tucson. Well, just fucking expand on the desert, man. Just make it one long, then you can have like a super train coming from Tucson to Phoenix Metro. Leave the fucking mountains alone, man. Just leave the
Yep.
mountains alone.
I agree with you.
I don't like when people fucking, and I've been that way since I got into real estate. Just leave the mountains alone. Go down the desert, because it would be so badass to be able to hop on a super train. Like if you lived in Tucson, right? Some people may think Tucson's nicer than Phoenix, right? But imagine a super train that gets you from Tucson to Phoenix in a half an hour. I mean, that would be legit, because it's just a train, like Japan, that super, and then boom, you're there, and you have all these city stops along the way that you can stop at, and it just, to me, it makes more sense. But I'm not in civil engineering, and I think it's too late. And what the fuck did she just do? No,
See, that's a problem that Elon could probably solve in his head super quick, but you'd have to
Right.
get everybody to buy into that, not only spending that kind of money, but
right.
thinking outside the box enough,
Well, that's the thing. I mean, like you look at New York. New York, you can get from end to end, with the train systems and right. I get that doesn't really matter, because that's only what New York's like a mile, 2 miles or something. I don't know. I don't know how big New York is.
I just heard him talk about this tunnel system that he wanted to put under Los Angeles to alleviate the traffic problem. And on paper, and to hear him explain it, it makes complete sense. You know, I couldn't regurgitate it because it took him probably a half hour on Rogan's podcast to explain how that was going to work. But at the end of it, you're like, yeah, okay, I would have never dreamed that up, but it makes sense. It's a lot like you just described. It's kind of a super subway system underground that just moves incredibly fast. It's all automated.
Yeah.
But you have to get, the funding, and he got the hardest part done. The county of, what is it, Orange County?
Yeah.
Or Los Angeles, whatever it is. He got them to agree to the drawing up the plans. It's
right.
Getting the rest of society to buy into it, I guess, is where I'm going with that.
Yeah, because there was conversations about a super train from Vegas to Arizona too, I think. Or was that the one you're talking about, California to Arizona?
No, you told me about that one.
Okay.
That's a whole separate project. Is that his as well?
I don't know if it's his or not, but to me, the super trains just make sense with the amount of population growth we have and the amount of travel you have, and it would cut down on the emissions and shit. So those that truly believe that the greenhouse effect is what is causing all this weather catastrophe, that we've had this last year, but to me, it makes sense that Tucson's an hour and a half away, and it's 2 hours if you're in Phoenix. But if you just hopped on Tucson on a train, and could be in Phoenix in half an hour, that would open up so many opportunities for people to live in more of an affordable place, but still work in the center of the valley, because
which makes total sense in the desert, because it's flat from that distance to that distance, right? From Phoenix to Tucson is a perfect place to put like a bullet train like they have in Japan, infrastructure, even if you wanted to keep it above ground. Elon's just talking about the city of Los Angeles, and then I read up on what you were talking about, the super train from California and Arizona to Vegas and back. And then your idea would even be supported by like Japan's bullet train, where that thing runs 200 and some miles an hour or 300 miles an hour. That makes a quick commute.
Yeah.
But then you have to support the infrastructure once you get to Chandler, Gilbert, Phoenix, Tempe.
Right.
You have to have that. Japan had probably, I don't know because I've never been there. Could ask Jake. I'm sure they have to have some kind of train system that branches out after the bullet train enters whatever town, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't run the bullet train through the city.
No.
To different stops,
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I think it just, like that movie, remember the movie Singles, where it was like all Cameron Crowe's, right, and they were all about the Seattle music scene, stuff like that. Well, what's his face's character wanted to do a super train, and then the mayor shut it down. I think if things were planned out better, I mean, Arizona's planned out great as far as north, south, east, west. It's all grids, there's
way better than most cities. Yes,
right. You can get around, even if you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You can get around.
Yep, I brag that up a lot.
Right, but just something like that, because we are so spread out. That's the one thing that people don't like about Arizona when they relocate here. You're so spread out, which is true. We are. I mean, where I'm at now, it's 40 minutes to get to my office. Right.
Sure.
But that's a choice. I mean, I could have an office 2 blocks away, but that's a choice, and I like that. But other people, because of the housing costs and things like that, I don't know what it's like all across the world, but in Arizona, it's like affordable housing. You got to go to the outskirts. You got to go to Maricopa. You got to go to Florence, places like that. But if you had this super train, man, that came from Tucson to the central heart of Phoenix, maybe took it from central Phoenix all the way up to Flagstaff type thing, so you could actually get from southern to northern Arizona, half an hour, 45 minutes, hour. And that to me would just be a badass thing to do. And from a cost standpoint.
But then what I'm saying is, like when you're in the city of Chicago, so the nice thing for us living down here, here's an infrastructure that we have that you don't have, that I can ride the Amtrak, which, increase their speeds to almost 100 miles an hour for super cheap, like $9 up and $11 back. Once I get to the city of Phoenix, how do I get around? In Chicago, I can ride the L anywhere I want to go.
Yeah.
So for another $5, I can ride the L one way, east and west, all day long. And for another $5, I can ride it north and south all day long.
So the trick would be...
You need the infrastructure to get around the different cities once you get there.
Okay. That makes sense.
See, now in reverse, let's say I get to Chicago and I go to Wrigley Field and I catch a game, and I got a buddy that lives in Schaumburg, which is quite a ways away from the city. Now I can get on the Metra, which is it's a real train, just like the Amtrak, but it's an intra-city train. Like it goes to the suburbs and back to the city and to the suburbs and back to the city. Or the Amtrak runs from St. Louis to Chicago all day long, right?
Yeah.
You have a full infrastructure to get around Chicago and the suburbs once you get there. That's my point.
I didn't think about that. You'd have to have a car parked somewhere in Phoenix to get around, or you'd have to take the light rail, and the light rail doesn't. It just goes north to south for the most part. I think there's some east-western, but that goes into the East Valley. That's a good point. That's why I'm not a civil engineer, man. That's why I'm just on a podcast and hanging out and talking about crazy shit all the time because I don't.
Well, and in my case, I've lived in both cities, so I can see the advantages of being in one place or the other. Right? I like your idea, but then you have to have that infrastructure in place in every city you go to carry those people once the major carrier drops them off. Amtrak only drops you off at Union Station. That's your only option.
Oh, gotcha. Did you see that we have a chat message?
We do?
Yeah.
What does it say? Do tell.
Cheap viewers on streambo.com. It's from somebody named Hattingale.
I'm going to say it's probably spam.
Probably spam. Spam. Spam's a national treasure in Hawaii. Just saying. Spam and eggs.
Different kind of spam.
Different kind of spam, but that's where spam originated, Mike. In Hawaii.
In Hawaii?
In Hawaii, spam. I don't know.
Is that true?
I have no idea. It's true because I said it. If you want to Google me, go ahead. Here's something funny, too. So that thing a while back that I did at that $4 million house, right? This dude had a tattoo on his arm right here. There was a pineapple. So I text Nikki. I'm like, hey, this dude's got a pineapple on his arm, right? She's like asking me if he's from Hawaii. So I went back in. He was the guy behind. He was filming everything. So walked back in, was doing something. I was like, hey man, I noticed you got pineapple on your arm. There, you from Hawaii? He's like, no, it's a lifestyle thing. And I was like, if you know, you know.
Unfortunately, I know.
And what's funny,
you told me.
Yeah, we went on the cruise. One of the doors when we were going back to the room, somebody put an upside down pineapple on it, and then Nick was like, "Oh, we got to take a picture of that just to be silly." And then we came back, it was gone because we would probably think one of their friends was fucking with him, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, I had no idea about the pineapple until this podcast started. That was one that slipped by me.
Yeah, it's fine. It's one of those things that, I've seen all kinds of things in my real estate world.
Oh, I actually walked through one of those clubs. I never participated, but I was with a guy who was collecting money because, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know at the time, but he was kind of like the protection guy.
Oh.
I just happened to be friends with the protection guy.
Okay.
I fell into weird relationships because you guys were all involved at the time, and there were times I didn't have a girlfriend while we were in the band, and I would meet these crazy fucking people.
Right.
Hey man, you want to go hang out and smoke some pot and drink some beers and watch football? Yeah. Uh-huh. Hey, I got to stop by this place real quick. So we pull in the parking lot, and he's like, "You want to come in?" I said, "What is this place?" He's like, "It's like a fucking swingers club or something." He says, "I got to pick some money up from this guy." So we go in there, and he picks the money up, and the crazy part of the story is it's obvious that, he was the protection guy. I just walked through the club with him and decided that wasn't going to be my lifestyle.
So explain the club. Explain what you saw.
All right, so you walk in and there's like a reception area like there would be anywhere. It was probably like, I don't know, 5 by 5. Okay. And there's a lady standing there, and she obviously records the couples who are walking in and preferences, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so then they wait till they have an opportunity to go to one of many rooms that are down a pretty narrow hallway. It's basically a house that's created into a swingers club, right?
Okay.
So they bought a piece of property that was on the corner in an industrial park that, as Chris will tell you, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, as Chris will tell you, in Arizona, the zoning is a little crazy. At times because the city grew so fast. So there were things that got lost in the mix, which this was one of them. It was zoned as an industrial property, but it was obviously a house that they converted into many bedrooms, and in the back was the office. So we walked by all these bedrooms, and there were doors that were open and there were doors that were closed, and in the doors that were open, there were things that I decided that's not what I was going to do with my life. That's all I'm going to tell you. I was like, that's way too many people and way too many dicks. One more in a room than mine is too many. So, yeah. Instantly. No.
That's funny.
No part of that.
I never heard that story.
Yeah, that guy's dead now. So
that would have been a good song, man. That would be a Nickelback song. Like their song, something in her mouth. Nickelback writes some good fucking sexual innuendo music, man. I didn't realize.
You can tell that he loves hanging out at strip clubs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I did not realize that he never got married and he never had any kids till I watched that documentary.
He got married to Avril Lavigne, I thought.
Oh, that's right. He never had any kids.
Yeah, they were married for a short time though.
Yeah.
Not very long.
He basically has been a single guy most of his life.
Well, rightfully so. I mean, rightfully so. If you're going to be, like I think I would have been the exception to that rule because Nick and I have such a strong relationship that I always told her, like, I'm not that guy. I don't. To me, is no matter what you do in life, it's not worth risking your home life.
No.
So I never.
That's not why I was in it to begin with.
Right. I mean, we've had that conversation before too, because to me, it was just about the music and the moment and entertaining people. It wasn't about getting laid. I mean, I had plenty of opportunities after shows, and I just didn't do it. I would always tell her that, like, you don't have to worry about that because that's not who I am. I'm not.
No, I like being up there playing. That's the reason I did it.
Right. I'm not gonna fuck up my life for a 30-minute romp in the back of a bar, or in the backstage of a venue or whatever. It's just, to me, it's just stupid. It's just never even appealed to me because it's the same thing. It was more of, it's entertaining, the craft of it and being in front of people. That was what was getting me off is being in front and the high I got and the energy I fed off of and
absolutely, the volume.
Exactly. So and I would tell her that throughout my years of being in bands, when I went to Sturgis with that one band, it's like, you don't have to worry. Like I'm not gonna, let's hook up with a biker chick. That's not who I am. Like, and she sees that and she saw that, but women are insecure, especially when you're married to the vocalist, because everybody knows the vocalist is the first thing that anybody sees and hears and looks at.
Well, they're hanging off your leg while you're playing.
Right, so it's so it's just one of those things. But it's like no, I'm just not. That's not my character. I grew up with that, and I think that's why I'm so against that concept.
Yes.
You learn by doing, or do as I say, not as I do, was how I was raised. But
I always use the analogy that to make it funny. If I was having that conversation with an insecure woman that I was interested in or newly involved in, so I'll set your mind at ease right now. It's like, I'm smart enough to know the difference between being single and being in a relationship. You'll find that out very quickly,
Right.
I pride myself on being intelligent. I'm not always right. I learned to look at intelligence as being open-minded. I used to think you had to know everything. It's like, you don't have to know shit. You just have to be a sponge. You have to not be married to any one of your ideas ever. You have to be willing to change your mind in an instant.
Mm-hmm.
I could have thought of something my whole life, and you could say one thing, and I'd be like, you know what? You're right. Damn, I never thought of it that way.
Right.
Now I think of it differently from that point forward till somebody changes my mind again, right?
Yeah.
It's not that I'm easily manipulated either, because you can't do that. Good luck.
Yeah.
Like, it has to make sense and be logical. If more people just open their mind and just, you don't have to be so rigid.
That goes back to that we talked about in one of our previous shows about you living under that umbrella, like you're conforming to what you're living into and brought up in, and
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. It's the thinking outside the box, which again, I think most people, musicians and artists in general, actors and those type of things, they comedians, anybody that's like in the entertainment industry on whatever level, successful or not, they've lived the bulk of their lives thinking outside of that box. Because who in the right mind is going to think, oh, I'm going to go move my entire fucking ass to Arizona. I'm going to start a rock band and change the world. Right-minded people don't do that. Just like right-minded people don't leave Ohio and take a Greyhound bus to L.A. with a suitcase and $20 in their hand and think, I'm going to be a movie star.
No.
Because 99% of those, I'm going to be a movie star, end up being prostitutes or adult film stars or waitresses or waiters or, busboys. And, it's like
dude, I told you that first night there, man, when I had no furniture and all I had was a milk crate that I stole from the fucking supermarket that was a block away to put my TV on, and I'm laying on the floor.
Yep.
Like, I made a big mistake, man, because I don't know anybody. Who am I to? That was the first time that I can look at somebody who's bound and determined that they're right about something and say, who the fuck do you think you are? Because that night was the first time that I was like, who do I think I am?
Yeah.
That I can battle this. I came from a town of 12,000 people. Now I'm sitting in the middle of that. At that time, there was probably close to 2 million people in Phoenix.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot more now, but like, who am I to think that I could start a band that could rival anybody who ever made it in my current condition, I didn't mean to do the thumbs up. I was scratching my eye.
It's all good.
But we did, we ended up opening for national acts and getting recognized and getting a development deal from Metal Blade.
But that's just the thing, though, man. Normal people don't think that way, and without normal people, the world would be boring. I mean,
absolutely.
With only I know
what you meant.
Without weird people, the world would be boring because nobody would take a chance. The world needs people like us to take the chances, because whether we succeed or fail, they can latch onto the fact that, you took the chance and you made it. You took the chance, but at least you tried. That's the thing. Like, everything that I've done in my life, it was one of those things that I just want to be able to say I did something other than the metal coffin to and from a 9-to-5 job. Successful,
absolutely.
Not successful, failed, not failed. It just...
There's different levels of success, too.
Right. And
I learned to define what we did as being... Did we retire off it? No. And that was, that was one of my... If you want to say I had like 3 goals, that would have been my third goal, was I would like to not have to work again at, like you said, a 9-to-5 job. But I learned to redefine what success was, too.
Sure.
Success was, I didn't play in a cover band, which I love a lot of my best friends that I grew up with playing cover bands.
Yeah.
And they love it, and that's great. That just was never my thing. I like, taking one of those songs like you and I have discussed and making them our own.
Yeah.
But to just play other people's music was not my forte. And some people, they enjoy that because that's what they're good at. And that's awesome, because I love going to see a great cover band.
Oh, yeah.
I just saw one, last summer? Back in June. Yeah. Amazing. Blew me away. Stayed, didn't intend on staying for even more than 2 songs, and I stayed for the whole night. That's how much I enjoyed it. Yeah. So I always wanted to have my own sound. I wanted to be recognized as an original songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
And I told, I've said this before on the podcast, that night that guy described what I envisioned to a T in a solo that I wrote was payment in full. You know,
Yeah.
that was
Oh, yeah.
the definition of success that night.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, fuck yeah, man. Somebody
Yeah, the window of hell.
actually saw the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The window of hell.
Somebody
solo.
saw
Yeah.
the same vision
Yeah.
in their
Yeah.
head that I saw when I wrote the solo. I'm like,
Yeah.
not only did I always say I wanted to cry, I did cry, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
awesome, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
No,
was the
think-
same
Yeah.
10-year-old kid
Yeah.
that was like, where do you put your fingers when, you know, I took
Sure.
my first lesson to now I want to write my own songs, which is a whole nother level, to somebody interpreting what you wrote.
Right.
It's like, holy shit, man. Yeah.
Yep.
I might be half as good as I thought I was, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Success is measured at different levels for sure. It doesn't have to. You don't have to be a billionaire to be successful. Elon Musk is successful, but then so is somebody who aspired just to, you know, be a good father, a good husband, raising a family. You know, that's if it's what you want, what you put your sights on, and the target that you want to hit. And when you hit that, that's success, regardless of what it is.
And the point people miss is both those jobs are equally as important, right?
Oh fuck yeah.
You raising a decent human being to be a productive member of society is probably more important than him changing technology, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because if we
yeah.
keep producing better members of society, the world
Sure.
keeps getting better, right?
Oh yeah. Agreed.
Technology doesn't make the world better unless you have people with a brain in their head to use it properly, right?
Yes. Agreed. And that goes back to what we talked about earlier, that people are living on this instead of living, well, not live like this because, you know, we're in two different states. But technology has its bonuses, right? Because we couldn't do this without technology.
No.
This would be just us having a conversation on our phones as I drove to work or drove to the office or whatever the case may be.
But we don't have the ability to have an intellectual conversation across the table from each other, which we would absolutely do if
Right.
we were
Oh, yeah.
within a half hour of each other.
Oh, yeah. If we lived in the same state, we'd do this shit side by side live.
Absolutely. So this
Yeah.
is as close as we can get to give the world our perspective
Right.
as positively as possible. It's not always positive.
No.
You know,
It is
I
what
live
it
in
is.
reality. You can't
Yeah.
always just be the world isn't sunshine and roses, you know?
It's not.
I proved a couple podcasts ago, even I have bad days, you know?
Yeah.
I had
Oh,
a
yeah.
shit day that day, and I just admit it to people now. It's like, I apologize, man.
Yeah.
Normally, I'm the person I know I'm not always positive. I'd like to give out the facts,
Yeah.
but I try and give out the facts as happily as possible, you know?
Right, but see, I'm a big believer in if somebody asks you, how you doing? If you're having a shit day, you say, I'm having a shit day.
Yeah.
I hate when
Fucking
people
tired.
say,
My brain isn't
Right.
working right.
Right. I hate
And I'm
when you-
embarrassed by that. That's the difference in me and most people is, you know, if I'm not on my game,
Yeah.
then I feel like I'm letting somebody down. You, for starters, because you're my partner. And then
Yeah.
the rest of the people that are listening, because I either like to be funny, informative, or, you know, I'll even be the butt of the joke as long as they're as low as mine, right?
Right. Right. I think the big thing is just be as transparent as you possibly can without intentionally hurting someone. So if somebody asks you, having a good day, do you have a shit day? I'll tell them, I'm not having a good day. I'm fucking irritated this, irritated that. Nikki kind of gets on me every now and then about that because she's like, they don't need to know that. I was like, well, they asked. Okay, what they asked doesn't mean you need to tell them, you know, I'm like, why not? They asked me. If I ask you if you're having a good day and you say you're having a good day and I can tell you're not having a good day, I'm going to say, bullshit, you're not having a good day. What's wrong?
Right
So-
now, you're lying to me.
Right. So it's just it's that thing that not everybody has a good day every single day. That's the thing I harp on the most is people create these picture perfect lives on social media, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, you know, they have this picture perfect life for a year, and then boom, all of a sudden they're getting divorced, and then
I just saw it happen.
Right. It's like just nobody expects you to be perfect.
Yep.
Nobody except yourself. You put that ownership on yourself, which is detrimental because you cannot live up to your own expectation. So because you can't live up to your own expectation, you're destined to fail.
Absolutely.
We're flawed. We're humans. We're flawed. We have free will. The reason why we're flawed is because of free will. We have the right to make decisions, good or bad, but we still have those decisions that have to be made, and sometimes those decisions are bad. Why? Because it's free will.
And you know why we
that's-
have free will?
Why?
Because Rush told us so.
I was hoping you could say that. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice.
Hey, so right.
There you go.
That's
And with
such a great lyric, man.
That's a fucking great lyric. I wrote an editorial in college, and I quoted that lyric because it was about the never-ending debate of whether you should vote or not. So that was the opening sentence to that editorial.
That's awesome.
All glory to Pert. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. And then it was like, but have you really made a choice? And then I went down that path. And that, my friend, is a perfect place to end because, hey, you still have made a choice, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm Chris Dunham. He's Mike Michaels. This is the Chris and Mike Show. We hope you enjoyed listening today. And remember, tomorrow is a better day.
Don't let the bad days win, people.
Don't let the bad days win. If you have a bad day, fucking tell somebody you're having a bad day.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed how cathartic it is to get that shit out of your system.
I admitted it right here on the podcast.
Right.
So if I can do it publicly, you can do it to your significant other or just the world in general. You know, just say, I'm having a bad day. I'll talk to you tomorrow. You know?
Yeah.
I usually just get quiet.
Yeah.
That way I don't hurt. To Chris's point, that way I don't hurt anybody. You know?
Yeah. Yep.
Just say I'm having a bad day. I'm tired. My brain's not working. I usually try and say something funny.
Yep.
And then I guarantee you tomorrow will be better. If it's not, the next day will be better, and we'll have a good time then, just like him and I did today. So
exactly,
it's the way life works.
It is.
Not every day's perfect.
Nope. Don't hold yourself up to that standard because you will fail. Don't set yourself up for failure. Set yourself up for success.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody for listening. We love you guys.
Have a great day.
Love you too, brother.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Peace out, children.
Peace.